bit on this video about personal story of my knee issues. With my narrow hips, when you have narrow hips, you're gonna have issues with your knees just because your hips are not as wide, and you can have so many more problems with that. And obviously wide hips, you have the capability of getting into flexibleness a little bit quicker just because of how your hip shape is. And your knees and your hips kind of work as one. So if you're having instability in your hips or your pelvis, your knees will start having issues as well. And also as well, a lot of people don't realize this, when you have certain muscle groups that are weaker or underactive than other muscle groups will lock up just to protect that one group of muscles. So that's one thing you need to know. So, getting into fitness and stuff, I kind of was like hitting it all the time. And like with my body type, I kind of was like focused on a little bit too much glutes and less quads and so on. And I started throwing my muscle gains off. So when you are throwing them off, which means you might be growing a little bit faster in one area and in one area might be a little bit less weaker, eventually it's going to start causing issues, which will start causing joint issues just because other issues are locked up, like I just discussed. So I started having that issue, okay? And with my body type, I tend to be very quadsy. It's not the best, but I know like people are like, oh, I love quads. Listen, sometimes a little bit too much quads is too much. So I had to stop squats for a little bit because my quads were very dominant and they were causing issues. So I started really involving my glutes and everything. And after a while, my imbalances started kicking in. And then that was kind of why I started learning how to do corrective fitness and went into specializing more in corrective fitness and actually getting my certification specialist for that and exercise therapy, because I wanted to learn more in depth about how the body worked. Because I learned that in college of kinesiology, but they didn't teach us the in-depth part about what exercises to do or what does this. And obviously I learned about muscle imbalances and how the body's affected. Like one part of your issue could be caused from another issue. I learned that. But with corrective fitness, it goes a little bit more into that. So I started having all these issues, neck issues, knee issues, especially my knee. And I was like, I am so tired of this. So what I did was I got that done. And then I really started focusing on the muscle groups that affect that. So my TFL band was tight, which was my IT band, which was causing my knee to hurt because my glute medius was weak. And I was like, oh no, my glute medius can't be weak. So that's your upper part of your glute, by the way. And I was like, oh no, it can't be weak. And then I'm doing certain exercises that literally target only your glute medius. And I'm like, okay, maybe I am. So a lot of people don't realize that glute abduction machine, if you do not fit it properly, or if you do not fit, I think this is what I've realized over the years I've spent in the gym and working with a lot of clients. I've noticed that if you don't fit that glute abduction machine perfectly, it's going to start targeting your TFL band, which means if your TFL band, which is like right here, if your TFL band gets too tight, it'll start locking your IT band up, which causes your knee to hurt. That's why a lot of people blow their ACLs and stuff, because they tend not to focus enough on their glute medius strength. So that causes issues in the long run. So I figured that out and I started learning tips and tricks from my fitness stuff, and I created a whole program for that for myself just because I like to create programs to fix people. So that's what I did, and I fixed my own knee problems from corrective fitness. So I'm going to go over some tips on here on how you can tell if your TFL band is tight over a demonstration of one of my clients. And I'm also going to show you some tips and tricks on how you kind of release the pain and the tension in those overactive, underactive, and how you can activate those muscles that you need to activate to, make sure that kind of relaxes and you don't have that knee issue. It's going to take some time to fix those issues just because you're kind of retraining your brain to activate the correct muscle group. Don't take some time. So don't think you're just going to fix it in one. It's going to take some time to actually activate your glute medius and make sure it's firing on normal, because yeah, you might be able to fire it once, but doing other exercises, it might not work properly just because it's a muscle memory thing. And as well, you have to keep doing it to make it remember it. It's kind of like riding a bike. You didn't just get riding a bike, you kind of just had to work on it and think about it, and eventually you didn't have to think about it anymore. Same concept. And it's the same concept of like trying to retrain your brain to actually do proper form. That's why I tell people, when you train properly first, because once you start doing that, it'll start becoming immediate. You don't have to think about it. But when you have to retrain yourself, and I've had to retrain so many clients how to squat properly, and it's taken me forever, but I had to retrain their motor neurons to get that. And eventually we got faster and faster, and now it's kind of like automatic again. And now we're correct form, no issues, so on. So we're gonna get to the demonstration, and I'm gonna show you a little bit, and then I'm gonna tell you ways and show you ways on how to fix it and stuff. So the first test we're gonna actually do is, this is the test just to see if your TFL band is tight or not. And the other test is to see if your quads are too tight, which are two areas are usually super overactive just from people sitting all the day and everything else like that. So I'm gonna show you those two tests from my client real quick. So first test is the one to see if your TFL band is tight. So when your TFL band is too tight, what's gonna happen is your leg tends to go over that direction, which means your TFL, which is like right here, which I will show you methods on how to fix this. So that area right there. Now the next one we're gonna do is to see if your quads are too tight. Usually if your quad's too tight, your leg is gonna lift off the bench or whatever you're laying on. And this is a normal problem for everyone. So if you wanna try to see if your quads are too tight, which you will know. So you'll do that exact same movement. I'll show you a video, and you won't be able to put your leg down flatly onto the bench if your quad or your hip flexors are too tight. Okay, here we go. So she's gonna put her leg down. I'm gonna move out of the way. So obviously you can tell there's not too much quad raise, but you can see and I'm gonna show you again. So move over. So you can tell it's lifted off. You can tell her quad's tight though. Her hip flexor is not as much, but those are the tips that you can tell if your quad or your hip flexor is too tight. Now, if you want more of like in depth about how different muscle groups affect different muscle groups and how you can relieve that, check out my course. I actually have more in depth. I've actually have videos in there as well, showing you methods how to fix these issues or help to fix these issues, ways to relax these issues, also ways of stretching using PMR. But I'm going to show you tips on, and I'm going to show you a video right now about what you can do to fix these issues that'll kind of help. Is important when you're doing these stretches and these release mechanisms, and also trigger warning, you need to learn how to relax, because a lot of people don't realize if you don't relax, your muscles tense up, your nerve system fires up, and then it starts not making the effect worth it. So I'm saying, like, you gotta breathe through, like when you're laying on something that's super tight muscle, you gotta go woosah. A lot of people don't know the wasa, and a lot of my clients say when I say that, but I'm like, you gotta breathe. If you tense your muscles up, it's not going to do anything, okay? Okay, so this is the first one. So what happens is what you're gonna do. So I'm kind of lean forward right now. But what you're gonna do is when you're gonna scoop your foot and try to pull you towards the other foot for like 5 seconds, and then relax, and then let yourself go forward while you're breathing out, and reach your hand over to get more of your psoas area. So right here, it's another part of your hip that can get tight. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna do that for a couple times. So you'll scoot your foot forward. Do not move it forward, but just kind of like slide it. You'll feel the tension in your hip flexors. And then breathe out, exhale, and lean forward into it. Reach your hand over your body, and you'll feel that stretch all the way up your stomach. That's your hip, that's your psoas. It gets pretty tight usually, okay? So that's normal. So stretch that out. I do that, hold that for about 30 seconds, then do it again. Do 3 sets of that. That is the modification version. This is the harder version, okay? So if you are not flexible, start there. Then work your way up. This is the harder version. So what you're gonna do, put your foot up on something to make it harder, drive those knees towards your foot, and then exhale and lean forward. I do a little lifty up just to get a little more stretch, and you can still do the reach over that left foot to get more of a stretch. I'm a little bit more flexible, but remember, you wanna hold the straight foot part, so drive that knee forward for 5 seconds, then relax and lean forward to hold for 30 seconds. I also have a beginner flexibility program as well that has a little bit more in-depth stuff as well for stretching for beginners. That has your modified and your advanced, and it just goes up. I increase the intensity throughout the weeks. But I've done that program myself. I designed it myself for my own flexibility because I always wanted to get the splits, and I was going to get the splits. So with the combination of corrective fitness, activation, muscle, PMR, and just stretching and using mobility in one, it's made a miracle program. Okay, guys? That's coming from a girl, and I've showed results for my own self, and I used to never be flexible, and I finally found the key, the combination, that chef kiss. Rest and consistency is key to get flexible, feel better, and also if you're trying to correct issues using corrective fitness, it's going to take a second to fix. Consistency is key. Okay, so we got to retrain your brain. It's not going to be fixed in 1 week. Might take you months to fix it, but consistency is key. And once you fix the issue, most of the time you won't have the issue return. Fitness to heal and actually fix the muscles properly. Okay, so I hope this video has helped you guys, and give me a follow and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to make sure I post more like lifestyle stuff. I know I haven't, but we're gonna get to it. And I'm mostly gonna post fashion stuff and talk about how you can dress for your body type and your muscles and whatever makes you comfortable, because I understand that. I'm not a food person, so I know if you're gonna be on this channel, you're gonna think you're gonna see a lot of food posts. You ain't, because I'm not that type of person. I'm more of an exercise girly, so you're gonna see a lot of exercise you don't even know of. But they're really good for you. I've been doing this for, oh God, like 15 years, long time. And I've been training people for about 10 years. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, if you want more fun posts, stuff like that, give me a follow, subscribe, like this post for your girl, tell your friends, tell your mom. But yeah, I'm gonna have funny stuff on here as well. I like to give a little bit of variety. I feel like variety is good, and I feel like there's not enough people on YouTube that are like sincerely like fun to watch. Like, I think there's a couple on there that are just don't care, and I'm those type of people that just don't care. But yeah, so subscribe, like, tell your mom, tell your friends, tell them like if you want to learn some tips and tricks, go follow Wellness Mer, Psych Fit Wellness. But yeah, so signing off for now. Ta-ta.